Good Friday evening and welcome to the Dave Ray Show. I'm your host, Dave Ray, here with Chief Meteorologist for the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel, Fred Gossage. How are you, Fred?
I'm doing fine, sir. How are you? Happy to be here as a second string guest on your show this week.
Oh, no. Fred is excellent. We're so proud to have him on the show. Thank you, Fred. We're so happy
I appreciate that, Lyle.
We're so happy to have you on the show because, you know, Fred stays busy all the time. He's very busy making sure you're safe in that threat of weather. So it's very important that we have that weather coverage, but we're so happy you're on today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So first question, what is your favorite part about working in the weather field?
It's the public warning and public safety aspect of it. I do have an interest in the science behind meteorology. You have to do this. There's so much science and math involved. I'm actually not that much of a TV person, to be honest. I have a radio face to begin with, but I'm not much of a communication person. But I've learned to do it over the years because I want to communicate directly with the public when you're in danger from severe weather. I grew up in the Birmingham, Alabama area, and you guys have seen the tornado events over the years down there, like April 27, 2011, and you've had your fair share up here in southern Tennessee and North Alabama as well. And that's exactly why I do what I do. And the reason why I've been doing this either as a hobby or professionally now for a total of 27 years. That's why I am who I am.
That is really impressive. 27 years?
I'm ancient.
Wow.
I've been around since before electricity.
Well, you do an excellent job. Just watching you on, the Weather Channel, you just do an excellent job. So the next question, I've already asked both of my guests before, Fred. What does your daily schedule look like?
All right, my schedule has changed a little bit this past week because we've expanded the content on social media quite a lot. We're doing a lot more in the way of blogs and behind-the-scenes videos and things like that. So here lately, I've been up by 3 a.m. every morning, looking over weather data, putting the forecast in the system, and then I write the blog discussion you've been seeing on Tennessee Valley Weather Facebook page. I record my radio hits by 4:30 in the morning and send those to email for Ben. And then here this week, I've been in the studio by 9 o'clock every morning, doing graphics behind the scenes, that kind of thing. 2 o'clock, I have an afternoon show, a full weather segment. And then between my 2 o'clock show and my 5 o'clock show, you were in there for the behind the scenes at one point this afternoon.
Yes.
We break down the weather on a Facebook Live a little bit. Get into a little more detail I can't do on the TV channel. Have a little fun with it, that kind of thing. Make fun of Ben Luna just a little bit because it comes so easily and naturally to do that.
Yes.
And then I have a 5 o'clock live show on the channel and social media. I have a full 6 o'clock show again. And then I give you a wake-up weather forecast at 9 o'clock in the evening. This is Monday through Friday. And then a few hours of sleep, and then I'm back at it again.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. And here in just a few minutes, we're going to get a good look at a behind-the-scenes tour with Fred here of the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel. Just in case you might not have seen that before, it's really awesome in there. It's really incredible, the setup, but we'll talk about that in a little while. So the next question.
All right.
This one gets a little bit deeper. This is a deep question.
Okay.
In your experience as a meteorologist, I'm sure many chaotic events have occurred. So what are a few occasions that you can recall that just will never leave your mind?
The main one that will always stick out, it was actually the first time I saw a tornado with my own eyes, like in person, was April 27, 2011. I was working at WBRC Fox 6 in Birmingham that day. I was behind the scenes. I was the guy driving the radar for the tornado coverage. And as the big Tuscaloosa Birmingham tornado was moving just north of downtown Birmingham, it was about a county away from my parents, and they needed to know what was going on because there were widespread power outages that day. There were over 250,000 people without power. So I stepped outside the studio to call them to let them know what was coming. And I looked north of the skyline from Red Mountain in Birmingham, and there was the big 2-mile wide tornado in the skyline. So that is probably my most memorable weather event.
Oh, man.
Other than that, I have to go back to my childhood. The big blizzard of 93 in Alabama. March of 93,
Wow.
Big 14-inch snowstorm in the Birmingham area, 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts, power outages, that kind of thing. That's my other big event in my lifetime.
Wow. So have there been any times in the studio where the adrenaline is just ridiculous from where you're watching the radar and you know something is going on? Is there like an adrenaline rush whenever you're, forecasting that?
Yeah, if you're not careful, there can be, but you have to compartmentalize everything. because you have to stay calm for the viewers, because if we overreact, if we have a reaction that's scared or alarmed, the viewer's going to have the same thing. And when your life is in danger, we need you to stay calm. And if we're not calm, you're not going to be calm. So we have to compartmentalize our feelings. Even if we know that there are people in the path of this storm that are probably not going to make it, we have to compartmentalize everything, have to stay calm, level-headed, and just deliver the information, and then we'll deal with the emotional aspect of it after the danger zone.
Wow, that is impressive. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could handle trying to convey that kind of information to somebody without having some type of weird face about it.
It takes practice and it takes fortitude, but it's a very important part of emergency communication.
Wow, that is seriously impressive. So next question, where do you see the Weather Center going in the next few years?
We are already working on expanding content beyond just forecast information. I already do a weekly segment, the Weather Classroom. We've built the Studio B out here because in addition to Dave's show that we do out here every week, we're going to start doing a weather talk show every week where we go behind the scenes and we have different guests in the meteorology field. We're going to expand that kind of content. We're working to get out into the community with social functions now that COVID-19 hasn't gone away and it's not going away, but more people are getting vaccinated and it's getting safer for more people to be out and about. So we're looking at school talks and weather radio programming tours, and we don't have anything on the calendar, but we're working toward that and being out for live events like the First Fridays in Florence, Alabama during the summer and the fall, and just getting out into the community more. And then we're also likely to just expand the studio space that we have in there, expand the technology. We're working on building out the Skycam network that we have. We have, I think, 4 more cameras that are going up over the next few weeks in Southern Tennessee and North Alabama, expanding beyond that. We're working on getting a new storm tracker vehicle soon. We're in long-term talks about it, but there may be a second radar down the road for the Northern Alabama Shoals area coverage, that kind of thing. And that's not immediately in the future, and that's not a guarantee, but it's a goal that we're working toward.
Talking about SkyTrack cameras, this is a question. This is just to test your knowledge. I'm curious to know how many cameras that you have on your SkyTrack network.
I want to say there are 8 or 9 already, and several of those are full pan, tilt, zoom, not just stationary. And then we're about to have several more go up, and then the goal is to steadily expand beyond that and cover all of the coverage area.
That's really impressive, especially coming right out of the Tennessee Valley Weather Center.
And we've only been doing this for just over a year. We've really come out of the gate with all this.
That's awesome. So also talking about that, you were speaking about going into schools and talking to kids. So tell us kind of what you do when you do go into a school, because I've seen photos where you set up a green screen and they kind of get to play with that kind of technology. So
Ben does that a lot, and I think it's a cool thing. And when I get to do my school talk shows, that's likely something I will do. Let the kids see how we do our weather broadcast. It depends on the age group we're talking to. A lot of the smaller kids will read an age level appropriate weather book, that kind of thing. Then we answer a lot of weather questions that they have about severe weather safety and tornadoes and hurricanes and snowstorms and just general science questions, earth science questions. We're also working on developing actual content, a curriculum that will include video presentations and showing storm chaser footage and that kind of thing when we go out, because it's all about education and it's about sparking an interest in sciences and mathematics for the kids.
Right. Well, that's awesome. So tell us about the creation of the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel and describe your role as Chief Meteorologist.
All right. The creation of the channel happened with 2 separate entities over the years. Right after April 27, 2011, Drew Richards of the team and I formed a group in August of that year called Shoals Weather. We were a digital outlet based in Florence, Alabama, but at the time we not only covered down there in Northwest Alabama, we were forecasting for this area in Southern Tennessee as well as part of the coverage area. We did that digitally online since August of 2011. We had live severe weather coverage, that kind of thing. At the same time, Ben Luna had his weather operations at the radio station WLX. When the unwarned tornadoes in early 2020 occurred in January and February, and he was working on getting the radar set up. We were aware of what he was trying to do with the radar developments. He was aware of what we had been doing with the social media. Due to how he was trying to get everything lined up and what we were wanting to do, we kind of just joined forces. We combined Shoals Weather into Ben Luna's weather operations at the start of April of 2020, and we created Tennessee Valley Weather out of that. We built the weather studio here. He got the live radar put in. We got the Barron weather graphics system called Lynx put into the studio during the summer. That's the same broadcast software that Channel 4 in Nashville uses, and Channel 19 and Channel 48 in Huntsville use.
Wow.
If you ever heard the radar system back in the years Viper, this is the newer version of that, and we call ours Viper as well.
Wow.
So we have the big boy toys. This is true TV software we have. And then we have the live radar, and just within this past year, everything's come together. But it was really two separate entities last year that came together with this one common goal. And we were already, as two separate entities, we were already both covering each other's coverage areas over the years to begin with. So it was a very easy marriage to do this.
Right. So describe your role as chief meteorologist.
It's very similar to what you see the guys on television do. I'm the weekday, afternoon, and evening on-air meteorologist, on-air, online, on the radio, that kind of thing. Ben Luna's the managing meteorologist. He's the vice president of it, but I lead the on-air severe weather coverage. I lead the actual forecast operations of it while he leads the business side aspect of it. So it's kind of a give and take there. And then Drew Richards of our team, he helps Ben manage the sales and that kind of a lot of the technical aspects of it with Skycams and such. So it's like kind of a trifecta of managers on the team. Wow. But my job as chief meteorologist, in addition to the on-air and online thing, I develop a lot of the forecast graphics that you see. I develop a lot of the forecast techniques that we use behind the scenes. And then during severe weather coverage, you'll see Ben on the wall a lot for Tennessee warnings. I'm on the wall a lot for Alabama warnings. But in general, I lead the forecasting process and the severe weather coverage for the team.
Wow, that's impressive. So whenever you're producing a show, I know you've got your weekly shows. Take us through a process of how that would work and maybe how long it would take for you to produce a weekly show.
The show so far, we've been using a lot of the explainer graphics that we've gotten from my Barron system. So it actually hasn't been that difficult so far, but I'm about to start getting into more intricate topics where I'm building my own graphics. It's about to get a little harrowing doing some 3D fly-throughs and that kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
But usually it takes me about a day to 2 days to come up with the topic I want to talk about for the week, get all my graphics in order, go through my graphics, kind of get in my head what I want to say, because those things aren't scripted. They're on the fly.
Which is also very impressive. And
that's why you may see a flub every now and then, because I try to make it as authentic as possible instead of having it scripted when I go through those. But yeah, it's not a difficult process. It's about to get more tedious and difficult, and that's fine. But it about a day or two process to get everything situated and then record it, put it on the channel, and we're done.
Wow. Okay, so I know you've got a weather classroom. So tell us a little bit about that. I know, just tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's the segment right there that I do every week. Pretty much it's an educational segment where I take a particular weather topic, like for instance, this week we talk about tropical storms and hurricanes because we have that thing down in the Gulf that we're watching. So I thought, hey, why not talk about those this week? We take a topic, we use graphics to explain the how, the why, what causes that weather phenomenon, safety, if safety is related to it, that type of thing. And then that's used on the channel, online, and those have also been used during some of our school visits as well as an educational tool. Wow.
So I hear you enjoy cooking. What is your favorite thing to cook?
I do, well, you can tell by how I look, but I do a lot of Southern cooking when I do cook. A lot of country soul food type cooking.
Oh yeah,
but yeah,
it's soul food for sure.
Yeah, buddy. And like last Christmas, I did a huge spread for for the weather team up here, all the classic holiday meal favorites. So.
Oh man, I missed it.
At some point in the future, we've discussed it, and it's not a guarantee, but there may be a Cooking Up a Storm with Fred show on the channel at some point, so we'll see.
Cooking Up a Storm.
Yep.
Did you come up with that name?
Ben and I did.
Oh man.
We'll see.
I love it.
We'll mark that down as we'll see.
Oh, so is there a specific type of food you like to cook? I know you said southern, but is there a specific food that you just go home, you're like, this is what I want to make?
In all honesty, throw me a recipe and I can do about anything except decorate a cake.
I can't decorate a cake either.
No,
I cannot either. Okay, what about biscuits? Just curious.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh man.
From scratch, no problem.
That sounds amazing. That's making me hungry just thinking about it, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm in a constant state of hungry, so I understand.
Me too. So how do you believe the Tennessee Valley Weather Center impacts Lawrence County and surrounding counties? I know that might sound like a stupid question, but how do you see the impact of this weather center?
You know, I'll preface what I'm about to say with this statement that even though this was born out of listeners and viewers in Southern Tennessee and Northwest Alabama feeling underserved, it's not the fault of any National Weather Service. It's not the fault of any TV station. Ultimately, with TV stations, especially that are located in bigger cities, what it comes down to is a risk assessment. Mm-hmm. If they have two equal storms at the same time, and one's over a highly populated area and one's over a lower populated area, same intensity at the same time, they have to give a little more coverage to the higher population. It's a numbers game. There are more people in danger at the time. And over the years, that's caused some of the TV stations to not be able to break away to cover some of our viewing area counties quite as quickly as what they would want to be able to. And that's why some of the viewers here have felt underserved over the years. It's not an intentional thing. It's not the fault of anyone. It's a numbers game and a risk assessment based on how many people are in danger at a given time. But we're able to focus locally instead of having to focus on Huntsville or focus on Nashville. We're able to focus on Lawrenceburg and Pulaski and Waynesboro and Columbia and Hohenwald and the Shoals and Athens and Decatur and Moulton and Russellville and Northeast Mississippi. We're able to focus on these rural areas and give every single county we cover equal coverage no matter which county it is.
Right.
And so everybody gets served equally by what we do. And I think we really made, even before we formed Tennessee Valley Weather as the two separate entities, we really made a name for ourselves by doing that. And we've only expanded on that since we formed Tennessee Valley Weather last year.
That's impressive. So isn't Lawrence County like in some type of, isn't it like a dip? Is that why we have radar problems before we have the new radar that we do have?
What happens is the next rad Doppler radars, they're positioned pretty far away from Lawrenceburg and the Shoals. It's not just Lawrenceburg. The Shoals in Northwest Alabama have the same issue. What happens is the surface of the Earth curves, but the radar beam goes out in a straight line. So the farther you get away from the radar, the higher it is off the ground. If you're out a certain distance away from the radar, that radar beam can sometimes shoot above what's happening at the ground. And the lower couple thousand feet is where most tornadoes form, especially those small spin-up tornadoes that happen in the solid line of thunderstorms. If you have a really bad tornado day where you have those large, violent, long-track tornadoes, you'll see those because they extend deep through the atmosphere. But these little spin-up tornadoes that happen along squall lines that, you know, they may not blow your brick home away, but they may knock a tree down on your mobile home that are just as dangerous. They happen in that lowest 1,000 to 2,000 feet. These next rad radars overshoot that a lot. And the National Weather Service can't warn what they can't see. It's not their fault. So we have put the radar here, and by its being centrally located in Lawrenceburg, it's scanning much lower in the atmosphere over these same areas that the next rads are scanning much higher because it's so much closer to these areas. We're able to see below what those radars see, and we're able to catch the rotations that the other radars can't. And then that live radar data, we're not the only ones that use it. We give a free live link to the National Weather Services in Nashville and Huntsville to help with the warning operations. So they're able to use it to issue tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, that kind of thing. It's not just about using it on TV. It's about getting the sirens sounded when they need to, getting your
Wow.
weather radio to go off. And that's what the National Weather Service does.
That is impressive. So not only are you serving the people in Lawrence County and surround in your viewing area, let me
Right.
say, you're serving the National Weather Service
Yeah.
by giving them a feed of information.
So that they can turn around
Right.
and issue the warnings to sound the sirens, to sound the weather radios, to sound your weather apps. Because TV stations, radio stations, we don't issue the warnings. The
Right.
National Weather Service does. We just take those warnings and we pass them along to you. They have to pull the trigger on that, and they can't do that if they don't have the information, if they don't see the signature on radar.
And I feel like that's very important for everybody to know is that the weather stations do not issue the warnings. It's the National Weather Service.
Yeah.
And I think that like I said, it's very important.
Yeah, you'll hear us talk about a tornado warning, but we're not the people that actually pull the trigger on that. That comes from the National Weather Service, and the National Weather Service, there are several offices across the country. That's actually a branch of the United States government that's tasked with doing that. So, yeah.
Right. Well,
They're the official source of warnings.
yes. See, I'm glad we get that clarified because I know there's been some difficulties here and there, and some miscommunication, I guess we
Right.
can say. So, what would you tell a student that is interested in entering into the weather field?
Take math and science classes through middle school and high school seriously. Meteorology is loaded with math and science. Once you get into college, you deal with a lot of calculus, you deal with a lot of physics.
So the weather stuff is not for me then.
While you're
I'm
still
not a math person.
I understand completely. While you're still in high school or earlier, focus on your math, focus on your science. That gives you a good foundation so that you understand the meteorology concepts once you do get into college. And then there are several colleges reasonably close by that have meteorology programs that are top notch, like University of Alabama in Huntsville, Mississippi State University, Florida State has one, and there are several others reasonably close by, but there are a few scattered around the country as well.
And I've actually been to the University of Alabama in Huntsville, and their center is so impressive.
Yeah, the new Swirl Center, that's really state of the art, and they've done a lot of severe weather research over the past 5 to 10 years to really help unravel the tornado process here in southern Tennessee and North Alabama, and that's helped the warnings become a lot more accurate than they used to be. And since 2011, that false alarm ratio, because of that research, has really come down. Tornado warnings really mean something when they're issued now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, the last question. This is not a stupid question. It might sound funny, but it's actually a valid question. I think everybody wants to hear this.
Okay.
Why is the sky blue?
You can actually go back to Weather Classroom episode 1.
Oh, wow.
And I explain this in detail with the graphics. That's fine, but I'll give an overview now. What happens is the sunlight is made up of different wavelengths of light. You have your infrared light all the way down to your ultraviolet light. And depending on the angle the sunlight hits the atmosphere and the particles in the atmosphere and how long that sunbeam travels through the atmosphere, it scatters the light into the different colors that makes up light. Because when you take all the colors of the rainbow together in the one location, it makes white light. Okay. But when you scatter them like you do with a prism to make a rainbow or raindrops through the rainbow, it breaks it up into its different color spectrums.
Wow.
So if the light hits a certain angle and it scatters through a distance of the atmosphere, it scatters a certain color of the light. And a certain way it does that is blue, and especially if you look away from the sun at midday, that sunlight is going through a deeper part of the atmosphere, it's scattering for longer, more of the blue light is exposed.
Wow.
But yeah, check out Weather Classroom episode 1. It's on the Facebook page. It's on the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel's YouTube channel. I go into that in easy to understand detail with graphic explainers and everything.
That's awesome. So, Fred, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It was a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you, sir.
I know, like I said, I know you're busy, but it was great to have you on. So you need to plug the apps and the Weather Channel.
Yes. Make sure that you download the free, always will be free. Free is nice. The free Tennessee Valley Weather app. It's a free download in the Apple App Store and Google Play. Search out Tennessee Valley Weather. You have to spell out the word Tennessee instead of TN. But watches and warning notifications, push alerts for lightning notifications, interactive radar, the 7-day forecast that we build, not computers. We build that ourselves every day, and has a live stream link to the 24/7 Weather Channel. So if there are tornado warnings flying, that's where we have our live coverage. And we have a non-negotiable policy here that if any of our 14 counties are issued a tornado warning by the National Weather Service, we come on the air, stay on the air nonstop until the danger is over. So anytime there's a tornado warning, get the warning, turn us on. We'll always be there 24/7, 365. Doesn't matter what time of the day it is, doesn't matter what day of the week it is. Even if it's 12 a.m. on Christmas morning, we'll be here if there's a tornado warning.
That's awesome. So if the weather seems sketchy to you, just hop over there onto the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel.
Yep, and also check us out on Facebook. Search for Tennessee Valley Weather. Search for Tennessee Valley Weather on YouTube. That's where we have our 24/7 digital weather channel as well. And tnvalleyweather.com, our website, there on the front page, it has the weather channel embedded into it as well.
That's awesome. And also, one more thing. Fred has his own personal weather Facebook page. Am I correct?
Yes.
Go follow that.
Yep, search for
Fred will keep you informed. He's awesome.
Yep, I link that semi-frequently on the main Facebook page, but search for Fred Gossage. Make sure you don't click the personal page that I have, but it'll say Fred Gossage - Tennessee Valley Weather. I do some extra content on there that we don't necessarily do on the main page.
And that's good.
And you
that's
may eventually see food pics, and there was a picture of a couple of our cats at the house yesterday, and just normal real life things in addition to the weather.
I expect to see a picture of some biscuits. And then I expect to eat some of those biscuits because I'm hungry now.
We'll see.
So we're going to hop over to the Weather Channel right now and get a behind-the-scenes look.
Okay.
Okay, we're live here in the Tennessee Valley Weather Center with Fred for a background behind-the-scenes tour of the Weather Channel.
Yes, sir. And we're going to start with the biggest part of our infrastructure in here, and that's the green screen you see here. This is how we do our weather presentations every day. We stand in front of the big green wall. What happens is the computer takes the image with me or Ben or Drew in front of the green wall, and it subtracts the green and puts weather graphics instead. And then with the monitors here on the side and a monitor in front on this wall, we can watch in real time what we're pointing at.
Wow.
And that's how we do the weather presentations.
I wonder why they chose green.
It's because green is not found in your skin pigments. And so when they subtract it, it's easier to subtract out. Yep. Movie makers use this a lot. And then in scenes where they have to wear green clothing or there's a green character, they use blue.
Blue. Okay.
You can actually use any color at all, but once you start to get into the yellow and red spectrums, you start to pick up hues that are in your skin tone, and it's
start to disappear.
Yes.
Oh.
Just like you would if you were wearing a green shirt in front of the wall here right now.
So y'all never wear green?
I have been able to pull off a really dark bluish teal color green here and there, something that's really different from the green color. Right. But if it's anything remotely close to that, no, we can't do it.
Wow. So there's a bunch of screens over here, which means there's a lot going on. So tell us a little bit about that.
We actually have 13 separate computers that run the weather center here.
Not one, 13.
13, the backbone of this, and we have 3 instances of this. Our Barron Lynx system, the radar part of this, we call Viper. On there, you see us talk about Viper all the time. Not like the snake, it's VIPIR. It stands for Volumetric Imaging and Processing for Integrated Radar. What that part of it does, it's a
right over my head,
it's 2 mouthfuls. What that does is it takes all the next-rad Doppler radars, looks at all scan levels of the atmosphere, and then it runs it through storm tracking and detection algorithms. It has algorithms for tornado detection, hail detection, flooding, winter weather, and all that. And then it feeds it back to us in the computer system in an easy to explain way that we use on air. And then that's our weather presentation system, all built into one big system. And they now call it Lynx from Barron and Huntsville.
Wow. That is impressive. So this looks like the video aspect of everything else.
Yes, this is video control over here, this entire area. This is the computer that runs the playlist in the top right corner of the stream that you see. It runs through the forecast, the sky cams, the graphics, the advertisements that we have. This computer right here controls the on-air video. This is where we mix the green screen video, the video from the weather pod set, with the graphics, however we need to do that. And then that either sends it out to the live on-air display or it records our forecasts themselves. And then this is one computer here. This is the actual on-air output, the final signal that goes on air. This is the channel itself, and this is what we send our regular 24/7 channel on, and that's what we do our live streaming severe weather coverage on as well.
That's impressive.
Yep, and then we have more workstation computers back here. We have a computer that runs the little warning bug in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen.
Wow.
That does the color-coded county map and the scroll with the warning text.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that.
Yep.
And then you've got these big boxes back here that have all the actual technology equipment inside of
Yes, we
that.
have 2 big computer racks here. This is for our 3 Baron Lynx computer boxes here.
Wow.
This is for the other on-air graphic computers and all that kind of thing. And then we'll show you in a moment the weather set, the presentation area, our little pod area. There's another Viper computer over there and another control computer over there. And you've also seen the big screen there on the set as well.
Wow. So we're going to swap over to the other side of things in just a second. So here we go. We're going to swap. All right, so we're over here in the presentation area. This looks familiar, I know, because if you watch the Weather Channel, Ben or Fred are over here with these other screens giving you even more weather information.
Yep. This is another Viper computer. This is the actual Viper computer that we do the storm tracking on during severe weather coverage.
Wow.
This is another control computer. So if we have a limited staff here, like if it's only Ben and I, or sometimes we have our intern Brian Wilson come up, if he's here as well and one of us, Ben or I, are absent at the time, he can run the on-air production from this computer as well without having to be across the room. Everything can be done over here. Wow. He can run the on-air signal while he's also driving the radar. And then, of course, we have other computer displays back here behind us. Then these are just for us to monitor. And then we have the big presentation screen here over our shoulder, and we can show any of our Viper displays, the graphics, our live storm track, dual pole Doppler radar, sky cams, anything we need to show up here.
So this, I know from the beginning, if you, like I remember Ben Luna's first live video in this room talking about the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel. There was just a TV, a move around TV, and none of these screens were here, right? Or were there a few,
they were, but they were behind the scenes. You didn't get to see them.
Right. And I think the amount of equipment that is in this room today is really impressive as to what is actually going on here.
Yeah, and
what is getting done.
Right.
And
and keep in mind that what you saw on that first video, that was Easter of 2020. We had a severe weather outbreak in the southeast that day. Keep in mind that happened between Easter 2020 and about June of last year. So those couple months, everything got built and put into place here. And then the Viper system arrived at the end of July of last year. So just in those few short months, we have all this built.
This is impressive. This is really impressive. Well, Fred, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
For joining me on my show and then letting me come into the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel.
That's how we do it.
Join us next week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Facebook, and YouTube. You want to plug yours again?
At Tennessee Valley Weather Channel. Find us on Facebook or YouTube or the free Tennessee Valley Weather app available on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
For free.
Yeah, free. Free is good.
That's the word. All right, tune in next week.